Hey, everybody, it's Robbie Bessner, and we're back with another episode in our Lyme series. Yes, the whole month of May, Therasage and Healthy Hotline is putting together, assembling the greatest team of all-stars with information to tell you about that you got to know. And today, I have to tell you, someone that's really dear to me, Dr. Jennifer Gramith. She is an all-star by every definition. In fact, if it was a baseball team, I'd have her batting fourth. That's cleanup, because she will knock the ball out of the park every day of the week. So Jennifer is a specialist. She's built a company. Her company is called Right Way Health and Wellness, and you can reach her at rightwayhealthandwellness.com. Or if you wanted to actually reach out to her personally, if you just typed in her email, protocols at rightwayhealthandwellness.com. She's a specialist in helping us create a healthy platform using your body's physiology to actually build a really strong platform to grow and really become optimally healthy. Her area is lymphatic drainage, or the lymphatic system. And it's so important. I mean, we really can't thrive and be healthy without a healthy lymphatic system. So what does that mean? We're going to dive real deep. Let me introduce Dr. Jennifer Gramith, a really sweetheart and a dear friend, to the Healthy Hotline. Jennifer, how are you doing today?
I am awesome, Robbie. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is very dear to my heart. I have a lot of Lyme clients that I have worked with for over the last 25 years. And so it's been quite a journey and a discovery. And, I think every year it looks a little bit different and we're learning new things. And early on in my career, and I'll go back and give you a little bit of my history. I was in mainstream medicine. I worked in nursing and cardiology, internal medicine, and oncology. And my father developed lymphoma cancer, as you know, and, he was a crop duster, had those chemicals sprayed on him directly. He developed tumors that were the size of grapefruit in his abdomen, under his arms. And of course, I worked in oncology. So what did we do? Chemotherapy and radiation. And unfortunately, it made things worse, and it destroyed his heart, and they gave him 2 months to live. And I was devastated. And so I know, what it feels like to have no hope, because I knew how serious his condition was. And he was only in his early 50s. I mean, he was young. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was a daddy's girl. So, I became a nurse because I wanted to help people to overcome challenges. And I've always had that passion. And so I couldn't have my father. So that devastated me. But my medical director said, Jennifer, why don't you try some alternative medicine? That's what it was referred to back then. And I said, I'll do whatever. So we did. My father lived past the 2-month point. 6 months, the tumors were half their size. A year later, he was cancer-free. And that is why is why I went on to school, because, I'm watching my patients and I'm watching my father just thrive, and patients get weaker and weaker in most cases. And I couldn't reconcile that. I really had to do something that I was passionate about. So I went back to school, and that's why I became a naturopath. And that's why my specialty has been revolved around the immune system. And so when I started as a naturopath working with clients, and it was cancer and Lyme and, heart disease, diabetes, I see all chronic issues. Even though my specialty is oncology. But when I started working with them, I kept running, into the lymphatic system. That was my problem system, because I did well with changing their diet and giving nutraceuticals, and it worked well for a period of time. And it seemed like they would just digress. And I was like, what am I missing? Well, that's when I talked to Dr. Cowden and Dr. Crowley, who were mentors of mine and, good friends of ours now. And they said, Jennifer, are you addressing the lymphatic system? I'm like, well, I don't know. Am I? I'm giving homeopathics and, things like that. And they were the ones who introduced me first to the inert gas ionization machines. And I started using that in my practice, and it was remarkable, the results. And it was the reason I got results was I was decongesting the lymph. And I didn't even know really what I was doing in those early days, Robbie. I knew I was dissolving inflammation, and by dissolving inflammation, I was able to stimulate their immune system, and I was able to direct their immune system where I needed to be. So now all the nutraceuticals that we were using were working much, much faster. And so it was like, wow. So I saw that with the cancer group, I saw it with the Lyme group and the autism group. And it was just remarkable. So that's how I got started. And like I said, I've been doing this 25 years.
Wow. That's decades. It's amazing.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, first off, you talk about a lot of things, and what people that just tuned in, we're talking to Dr. Jennifer Gramith, and she's a specialist in the lymphatic system. And people that, it's a word that gets thrown around, like mitochondria health and so forth. So tell us a little bit, for the people that aren't, dialed in so much, to describe a little bit like the correlation or the connection between your immune system and your lymphatic system. How does that work?
Great question. And you would be surprised how many people don't know. I didn't know, and I went, through nursing, and I had a chapter on the lymphatic system in nursing, and every other system we had a textbook on. And so you can think of it like this: your lymphatic system is made up of your lymph nodes and collectors. It looks very similar to the circulatory system with all the, veins and collectors, but it has these little filters. So what it is designed to do is to hold your immune system. Your immune system travels through your lymphatic system mostly, okay? So it's the structure that holds your immune system. Most of us know about the lymphatic system as our detox system, and that is what it is. It does detox us or get rid of the debris and the toxins that we have exposures to. Whether it's a pathogen or it's a heavy metal or a chemical, it's designed to identify it and destroy it and dump it. But what people don't realize, it's also the system that bathes every cell in the body with nutrients. And so when you have a congested lymphatic system, you're going to be malnourished. And so how many times do you see that malnourishment with clients who are Lyme patients? You're thinking that, they're taking all these supplements and they're doing the diet, but yet they still show very malnourished. And so the lymphatic system can really help, distribute those nutrients like it should. So it not only directs your immune system to attack the pathogen, it also carries those nutrients to the cell. One thing I used to think that, when I'm looking at the lymphatic system and I'm looking at the immune system, we've been kind of taught that Lyme it's true. I mean, Lyme mimics a lot of autoimmune diseases, right? Okay, so you really have to think about that. And I was trained that, it's your immune system's just gone nuts and it's just attacking your body for no reason. Well, that's not true, because your immune system is doing what it's supposed to do. It's trying to destroy pathogens. But think about Lyme. What is Lyme? It's Borrelia, it's a spirochete, and any of the co-infections, and it spirals into tissue. So it could go into the brain, it can go inside cells and organs and glands. And so your immune system, a lot of times the reason that it mimics an autoimmune response is because, let's say it's in the thyroid. Your immune system's like, oh, let's get that out. So it will try to attack the Lyme that's in the thyroid or the Lyme that's in the brain. And so it's actually doing its job. It's just not taking in consideration that it's, it's the host that it's attacking.
It's attacking, right, which is really the definition of autoimmune. It's the body's can't recognize the good from the bad, so it just attacks everything, right?
Well, it's attacking the bad, but it's having to go through the good. Yeah, for sure. Right. And so, I remember early on, people would say, with cancer, and especially with cancer, is, oh, you don't want to stimulate the lymphatic system because it will cause the cancer to spread. Well, the very lymphatic system is what keeps your cancer cells and your pathogens knocked down to where you don't develop disease. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to suppress the very system that saves you, right? I mean,
yeah, I hear that time and time again, because oftentimes when certain cancers metastasize to the lymph nodes, and then the lymph nodes, people think that the lymph node and the lymph system is carrying that cancer throughout the rest of the body systemically, when it's just like urban myth or something. I don't know where that came from, other than to just another scare tactic, I think, or something. I don't know. There is a yeah, there is a paradox, though, that I'd like for you to help me understand and people out there. All right, so the lymphatic system is driven by movement. Basically, the lymph nodes reside in various different parts of the, I don't know, you probably know the number that's generally in the body, so I'd love for you to relate that to everybody out there. But they reside in your muscles and among mostly, I guess, in your muscles, right? And so then when you move your muscle, the muscle kind of squeezes or compresses the lymph node that then passes the lymph along. And so movement is a really important vehicle, muscle movement vehicle, to really move your lymphatic system. Lymph is a more viscous fluid, I suppose. And so stagnation, when you are in bed, let's say herxing, and you can't move, the very thing you want to do is move, because the movement actually creates a healthier lymphatic system, but you feel so bad you can't move. So somehow we have to figure out how to get some simple movement or simple actions, just to, even if you're laid up, to at least keep that system pumping, because that's the thing that that's one of the lifelines that brings you back to good health. So shed some light on that, unpack it for us, because it's a paradox to me, and I we're out there trying to get the tips from the master, and that's you. So let us know what we could do about that.
You described it very, very well. And, that's one reason I had the XP2, the lymphatic drainage device, developed, was for those particular clients laying in bed herxing. And because when you do assisted lymphatic therapy, it prevents the Herxheimer reaction in many cases. And so you're exactly right. The lymphatic system is a system, unlike you described the difference between the cardiovascular and the lymphatic system without even knowing it. Because the cardiovascular system is a closed system, and it has the heart to pump the fluid. Well, the lymphatic system doesn't. It actually piggybacks on top of the cardiovascular system, and it doesn't have an automatic pump. And that's why when you live a sedentary lifestyle, it becomes even more congested. And so we want the fluid to be like water, the consistency of water, because these vessels, these lymphatic vessels that fluid has to go through, are like just a few strands of hair, so very tiny. That's why it was overlooked for so many years.
Sure.
And so can you imagine trying to squeeze butter through those tiny little vessels? And that's what happens when we live a sedentary lifestyle. That fluid is like a stagnant pond, and it becomes thicker and thicker. So it can go from the consistency of water to butter to cottage cheese, and then fibrotic. So, it can be very, very serious. And so we want to make sure that, and that's why I had this developed. I wanted to be able to dissolve the congestion back into a watery state so it could easily flow through those collectors. Now, the collectors, because the lymphatic system doesn't have an automatic pump like the heart, The collectors have what is called an angion. It's like a spiral muscle around the collector that as the fluid goes into the collector, it will swell and the collector then will squeeze it. But you have to have movement, just like you said. So your muscles is actually what gets that movement to push that fluid into the next little lymphangion, into the next one, carrying it to the lymph node. And so you do have anywhere between 600 and 15 to 1700 lymph nodes in the body. That's,
wow.
If you look at one textbook, it'll say 600 to 900. Another one, because it's such an unknown system. And so we're still learning a lot about the lymphatic system and how it works and, how to manipulate it to help our clients to feel better, faster. And so it's a foundational therapy in my practice. And it doesn't matter if you have Lyme or cancer, it's the foundational therapy, because I have been testing for over 25 years, and about 80% or more of the clients that I see have a pretty severe amount of congestion in their lymphatic system. You can ask any thermographer, and they'll say, that's the biggest thing that I see, Jennifer, is I see that there's so much congestion in their lymphatic system. And then I don't know what to do to tell them to help themselves other, than dry brushing or exercising. And as you know, a lot of our clients are so sick. I mean, the Lyme community is such a complicated, disorder, because it's like mimics so many autoimmune, but it's not impossible. And,
Right.
we've had great success. I've worked with hundreds of neurological Lyme patients over the last few years. And those are some of the toughest cases, because they don't have the mental energy. They don't have the physical energy. And what we see is when we stimulate their lymphatic system and help direct their immune system, that they start getting energy. They feel better. Their protocol works better for them. They don't have the Herxheimer reaction from every new supplement that we give them, because they're super, typically they're super sensitive. I see more environmental sensitivity clients with Lyme now. So now they're developing even more of a sensitivity to the outside environment, light, sound, smells. It's a huge issue that I think, that we need to definitely resolve and can be resolved. And we've had great success with our clients here at Right Way. And, I really want your group to really feel like there's so much hope, there's so much out there for them, and we won't stop until everyone is better. And so don't give up.
Yeah, I love that. Man, there's so much to talk about. From my understanding, this is just a mechanical thing. So the lymph node, kind of like, let's say this is the node, it's got a valve on one side. And then when the muscle, or like you said, the vehicle that actually squeezes the lymphatic tube, right, pushes the lymph into the node, then the muscle pumps, and then the valve, it squeezes, by the squeezing of the muscle, it squeezes and opens the valve, allowing the lymph to come through. Then the valve shuts so that the next, it's ready for the next station, and then you move and it goes to the next one and so forth. And so it's this constant valve open and shut. And why someone like yourself, like an expert in lymphatic drainage, knowing techniques, knowing people probably have heard of lymphatic massage, and that's really what you're doing, is you're sort of taking the cottage cheese back to butter, back to a fluid, and then also easing up the pressure that might be formed in the clogging of this node, so that it can actually operate mechanically.
What you're talking about right here. This is what a lymph node looks like in the body.
Whoa!
Not quite
oh
this
my goodness!
large.
Look, it's show and tell. My goodness,
It's
that's
show and
amazing.
tell. And so you're
Okay.
exactly right. So you have collectors coming into the node, and then here
Okay.
is where all your little T cells reside that is ready for
Okay.
that pathogen. When that spirochete comes in here, it's ready to attack, and then it exits through another area of the lymph node. And this is the collector, and the way the collector looks. And I don't know if you can see that little
Yeah, I got
valve
it.
that you were talking about. Yeah. So there's these
Yep.
little one-way valves that carry the fluid into the node, and then let the white blood cells, the immune system, do its job, and then it takes it out. And you can also see that you have the blood supply to the lymph node. And so even though your lymph nodes are not quite in the muscle, but they're, around the muscle. So your regional lymph nodes are like the axillary and the inguinal, and your cervical lymph nodes in the neck. And so they are, when you exercise and you get your blood flow pumping, that's what causes the lymph. It's called lymphangiomotoricity. That causes the contraction of those angions in those collectors, pushing it through all of these nodes. And so,
well, I love that. But for everybody just tuning in, that's not how big the lymph nodes are in your body. That's
unless you have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and then it could be that big.
Wow, that was really terrific, because it really helped me visually understand this is where your whole immune system sits, with those T cells that are sitting inside that node, just waiting. That's your army that's waiting to attack that pathogen, that invader. Right. So it makes way sense that if that system isn't really operating, so what we're learning today is very specific for the Lyme community, but anybody that's watching today, anybody needs to understand how important a healthy immune system and a healthy lymphatic system is, to be conscious of that. Wow. This is big stuff. You are not just a practitioner specialized in the lymphatic system. You're also someone that's an integrated functional doctor. So you're not just looking at this, even though this is your consciousness, you draw upon Dr. Cowden, like you mentioned, his academy, the people that you've met over the years in various different networks, and you bring all those tools together at Right Way. What a great name. To learn the right way about health, go to rightwayhealthandwellness.com, meet Dr. Gramith and her team. And if you went on her website, which is, by the way, beautifully done, all you see are these happy, smiley faces of all the people that work for you, your colleagues, the people in your practice, and it's really very refreshing. You've said this in a roundabout way, but let's sort of zero in to the Lyme patient listening today, why it is that, and by the way, we talk about exercise and movement. So it isn't, especially if like you're flat on your back, it may be hard for you to conceptualize to do that. We're not asking you to run a triathlon, go ride a 10-mile, do a 10-mile hike, or ride a bike for a few miles. This could be as simple as just getting out of bed and doing some stretching and doing some squats, or one of my favorites are the vibration plate. And you can buy those for like $100 on Amazon, right? Have it delivered in a day. Dr. Cowden was great on that one. He had me in his office when he was in Texas, and I had me on my back on this plate, and he goes, okay, now we're doing lymphatic drainage, just lift your legs up. And I'm just sitting there relaxing, going, blah, 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 blah. Everything is shaking. But that vibration can be oftentimes all you need to move the stagnation. So just for people tuning in, we're not looking for strenuous bodybuilding type stuff to move this around. We're really just talking about movement. And that's a big distinction, I think, that people need to know, because oftentimes they kind of get a wrong idea about what they need to do. It just becomes too outrageous. I can't do it. I don't feel good. But these are things that are easy and not expensive. So man, we covered so much. I'm just thinking about what we may have left out. We have a few minutes left, and I guess, what, let's talk a little bit about, you developed a device, right? And I think that that's important for people to know. So, and also, you're not just someone that's an expert in this area. You're about teaching and learning. So you're always on that learning curve. I mean, every time I meet you and I talk to you, you got something else and really exciting to talk about what you're doing. And you don't just do that through your practice, but you have a network of practitioners that you also follow and that you teach and that you bring advancements to. And now I understand you're going to combine all this in sort of a university setting, which is super exciting because, you know, in this virtual world, we all want to gain more knowledge. So it gets you not just as a thought leader, but it also puts you way ahead of everybody else out there in your area in the advancements in this lymphatic, knowing about the lymphatic system and simple ways to do it. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, why you developed this device. And I think you touched on it a little earlier about what it does, but maybe we can dive in a little deeper on that one because it's really interesting to me.
Yeah, no, you know, it's funny how my business has just organically shifted and changed. And it's kind of like the way our life is. So I developed the XP2 out of sheer need to help my clients move to the next level. And, you know, most of us as practitioners run, you know, against those, or we get those clients that, you know, they're sensitive to everything that they take. They can't take medications, they can't take supplements, they're always herxing. And so that was really frustrating to me. And I don't, you know, 70 to 80% of your immune system lies in the gut. And so I'm a manually trained lymphedema specialist. So I know the massage technique as well, but I needed something to really be able to go deep into the belly, into that deeper lymphatics and stimulate that immune system. And that's why I had the XP2 developed, was to be able to do that with my clients. So, you know, and how many of us struggle? I mean, all of us struggle with leaky gut. It's an epidemic, you know.
Yes, that's true. Especially with glyphosate, the glyphosate challenge that is not helping us. Yeah,
it destroys that tight junction. And so now we have all these proteins that should not be outside the gastrointestinal tract going into the blood and the lymph and creating just the systemic inflammatory pattern. And so the one reason I had it developed that made it just much more effective than just my manual technique. We use it same as we do manual technique. It's a full body approach. However, but what it actually does is it chews up and dissolves that inflammation, kind of like our probiotics and, you know, our enzymes and the things. And so when you combine that with using those products, it's remarkable the results that you get. And
you get that synergy, you get the synergy effect of the.
So it took me from about a 35% success rate with stage 4 cancer patients to a 75 and 85%. Lyme patients, same thing. It was just amazing the difference. And like I said early on, I didn't really understand why it was working so well. I just went with it. And so over the years, now I'm a lifetime student. Okay. So I may be a doctor, maybe a teacher, but I am a lifetime student. I take classes all the time because we will never know it all. And I think that we just have to keep searching for knowledge, and we have to take that knowledge and we have to share it. That's, you know, that's what God would have us to do. I really feel like that's, so I do appreciate you doing this because it's just such a beautiful thing to just give that gift of knowledge to people, give them hope. And so, but yeah, you know, with the XP2 and the lymphatic therapy, it's been remarkable at just decongesting. So manually you massage and you manually force the fluid to go through the channels. With the XP2, the difference is it actually causes a disassociation of those proteins, you know, those nasty proteins causing that inflammation in the heart and elsewhere in the body. It causes that disassociation of that protein, and then it just flushes it out. So it works much quicker. And so what would take me, you know, hours to do, it takes me 1 hour once a week. You know, it's what the standard protocol is for these types of cases. And they leave feeling better. and more positive, get rid of the brain fog, give them energy, get rid of the pain too, because it helps to pull that inflammation out of the joints and the connective tissue, and it cuts down the Lyme rash. A lot of your clients and patients will, suffer from that. So yeah, it's remarkable.
Well, I'm ready to sign up right now. You got me. Well, actually, you had me at hello, Jennifer, honestly. So I know you have a network. You've been doing this for 25 years. For people out there, like, what do? Do they just call up a practitioner and they say, do you have the XP2? I just heard so much about it from Dr. Grameth. Like, how do we find you? Like, we know how to find you,
right?
But also
yeah.
you've got an army of practitioners that you've been working with over the years that are spread out all over the country. And so
all over the world. Yeah, we actually have it in 17 cancer clinics in Asia, and we have it, all over. So you can go to our website here for the US, and you can actually type in or look up your state, and it'll tell you locations and contact information of a therapist near you. And so, nice. But we also have, with a lot of Lyme clients, we have home models that they can use and learn how to use on themselves. And so, it's something that they're typically going to do for quite some time. So it may be more economical for them to learn how to do it on their own lymphatic systems.
Well, that's great news to know that I can get this device and I can actually do some self-care. Because many of the people out there, they've got support groups in their family, and everyone's frustrated because they spend hundreds, of dollars, thousands of dollars on medication and working with practitioners. And some of it works, some of it works for a little time. But, I always love when the patient participates, like when they actually own it and they take care for themselves, And even in our coaching and from our perspective, my view would be to teach my clients or my customers everything they need to know so they could be their own best doctors. I don't want them to be codependent on me.
No.
And I love the fact that you have a system that you can export out, and then I guess they check in with you or with your clinic and with your advisory team, and they learn how to use it, and then they can treat themselves and treat their family members, because this isn't just for the people with chronic challenges. We're talking about chronic Lyme, but there's so many other chronics out there. Right. The lymphatic is definitely one of the core systems that you have to have on board in order for everything to work right. There's no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. And so, the things we've talked about today are so key to good health in general, not just for the Lyme community. So thank you so much for your contribution and everything you're doing. It's unwavering. From the minute I met you, you're just like, a ball of energy, couldn't be more excited or engaged in the things that you're doing. And it shows. You're really making a difference and moving the needle. So we only have a few minutes left. And I don't know if we covered everything on your mind. On my mind, I think that, is there simple massages or just simple things I could do? Like sometimes you can feel a lymph node when it's like when it's a little bit engorged or enlarged or stuck. So right. So what could I do to just sort of move it along I don't know, I guess on the most primal level, just to get something jump started?
Okay. No, I think that's ideally, and you need to learn how to do lymphatic therapy at home. And so basically that's just like manual massage. And so if you are swelling or having pain, you're going to just work it up to your regional lymph nodes, which are the axillary. So everything from the hand is going to go up towards the axillary. On the lateral portion will go up towards the thoracic right lymphatic duct. And so there are videos that you can watch online that will tell you exactly how to massage it, and also dry brushing. But something that's really simple is get a Pilates ball and bounce on the Pilates ball. You just like the vibration moves the superficial and the deep lymphatic. And so just do that 10 minutes twice a day. And if you can't even do 10 minutes, just work up to that. And so, but those of you who are laying in the bed and you don't even feel like you can do that, deep breathing actually stimulates your lymphatic system. So practice that until you have enough energy that you can get up and you can do the Pilates ball, and then, just graduate a little bit more and a little bit more, because it's not about doing it all today. It's about getting better, a little bit better every day. And so there are some ways, just like the assisted lymphatic therapy, that will help you get there much quicker, but that not everybody has access to that. And so these are just little simple things that you can do. Ginger tea is a great lymph drainer. There's homeopathics that drain your lymph. I want to tell you this, that a lot of times when people have swollen lymph nodes, they panic and they're like, oh my gosh, it's a cancer, it's a cancer, and if you palpate your lymph nodes, and your lymph node, when you palpate, it feels like little BBs inside it, that's usually just a viral infection. Okay, so when it feels like BBs, it's virus. When it feels like just a squishy little lump, that's usually a bacterial infection. And when it's sore, it's really nothing to worry about. Okay, so don't panic. But now if you have a node swell up and it's hard and it's not tender and it's just not going away, then that would be one that you would, have checked out. But it also can just be calcification too.
Right.
The trauma of some of these diagnoses that people get, or they start to think, create more disease process in their body. So, don't freak out when you have a lymph node swell up. Just palpate it and kind of see what it is, and it will go away if you take some immune boosting supplements, zinc, vitamin C. If it's BBs, I take vitamin C because that knocks down the viral loads. If it's squishy, take an olive leaf or something like that, some natural antibiotic. Yeah. So simple things that you can do to really help your lymphatic system and your immune system that's within the lymphatic system function. Give it the food it needs, give it the movement that it needs, and it will serve you well. So,
wow, great news. Sometimes I use our infrared, like the infrared red light or the full spectrum stuff. And it also it lowers my pain if there's a little sensitivity. Yep. It feels like it's making the lymph a little bit like more viscous, so it's more liquidy, and it takes the pressure off. So I found some results from there, but these are all amazing tips. Wow. As I thought you would, as you do every time I get together with you, you knock the leather off the ball. You're amazing. Right Way Health and Wellness.com. Jennifer Gramith, thank you so much for joining us. You're amazing. Appreciate your contribution. You guys out there, if you don't look this woman up and get hooked up to what she's doing, you're really missing out. She's really on top of her game and one of the experts in the world in this area. So thank you so much for joining us. And I really appreciate your contribution today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure always.
Hey everybody, it's Robbie Bessner. Thanks so much for joining us today. Please share this content with anyone that you think might benefit from it, and we're looking forward to having you with us tomorrow for another great interview.